Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our NFL Week 3 preview between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with the Bills.
First up, we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the New York Jets, and some coaching points for both teams in this ball game. For Buffalo, you want to take the training wheels off that offense. There's a lot of talented playmakers on the offensive side of the football. Allow these guys to make plays, take the training wheels off, allow yourself to attack deep down the field. And that offensive line has to do a great job this week recognizing the stunts and twists that the Jets will bring to the table up front defensively, so you have to be able to communicate and get that thing blocked up properly. And you want to get aggressive versus the Jets wide receivers until they prove they can get on bump press. You can get aggressive and take your chances by getting pressure on Geno Smith. Now for the Jets, it's about balance, balance, balance. They were able to run the football versus New England, then they got away from it when they needed it the most. Balance helps you win football games, and that's what they have to do this week versus the Bills. And the little things are huge. Getting off bump press, executing in the red zone, not turning the ball over, being where you're supposed to be on defense. The little things are huge, and that's how you win football games at the National Football League level. And linebackers and pass defense, the Bills love to throw underneath to the running backs as well as the intermediate passing game to the tight end, so the linebackers will have to play a huge role in pass defense this week. Early pivotal game in the AFC East. Both teams are looking to move to 2-1 on the season, but I like the Bills in this ball game. Their offensive playmakers that they have at their disposal gives them a chance to put points on the board offensively. I can't say the same thing right now for the New York Jets, so I like the Bills to win this one on the road. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling out west to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. And in this game for Jacksonville, they have to win the time of possession. That goes without saying. Give your defense a chance to win the ball game by owning the time of possession on offense. Now on defense, you want to pressure the front side offensive line of Seattle while closing the door on the backside, thus keeping Russell Wilson bottled up in the pocket, and that way you'll be able to get pressure down that A-gap. And you want to have those condensed sets on offense, bunch sets, a lot of tight formations, so that way you can take advantage of the rub routes and getting the defensive backs confused out there in Seattle, and gives you a chance to get the quick passing game going and ultimately hitting big plays deep down the field. And for the Seahawks, you want to force the Jaguars defense to play horizontal. You want to get these guys going sideline to sideline, wear them out horizontally, and that way you'll be able to take advantage of your power running game downhill. And there's no downside to constant pressure. Chad Henne doesn't scare you back there in the pocket, nor does the receivers of the Jaguars, so you can get aggressive in your pressure packages. And you also have to execute in the red zone. That goes without saying. Jacksonville can win this ball game because their defense is tough. So when you get down in the red zone, you have to put points on the board, 7s more so than 3s. But I like Seattle in this ball game, and I think this one will be closer than what people think. I love Jacksonville's defense, and you have to give them respect and credit for what they do defensively. But right now, Seattle's a well-oiled machine. I think they'll take care of business this week at home versus the Jags. Another big battle out west between Indianapolis and San Francisco. And for the Colts in this game, the defensive discipline has to be in effect this week versus that read option attack or the misdirection attack of the San Francisco 49ers. You have to be where you're supposed to be and play assignment football. And you want to work Kobe Fleener in the game plan early. Get the tight end involved. That opens things up on the outside for your talented wide receivers. And the running game with newly acquired running back Trent Richardson is going to be key. Now, we're going to go inside the lab because earlier in the week, I broke down how can the Browns use Richardson to his effectiveness versus the Vikings, and I think the same rules apply for the Colts, which is why I think he's a better fit in Indy than he was in Cleveland. So let's go inside the lab to see how the lead draw can help out Richardson gain a lot of yards on the ground.
The Cleveland Browns are starting Brian Hoyer at quarterback this week, and in order for him to have success, the running game has to have success. And in order for the running game to have success, Trent Richardson has to have success, and the Browns have to put him in a situation where he can be successful. And I think one of the best plays they can utilize with him is the lead draw. The reason why I love the lead draw for Trent Richardson, one, it spreads everything out. It makes it easy for him to see where the hole is, and that way he doesn't have to utilize his vision or lack thereof. He can hit the gap right away, utilize that power and that speed and acceleration, and that way he can run downhill, follow his fullback, and it keeps everything condensed. You don't have to worry about him trying to bounce it outside. So here's how the lead draw actually works, and this is versus man. So if you bring the receiver in motion, 9 times out of 10 that's going to put the cornerback over here as well. So the lead draw again shows pass, but it's really a run play. And what we're going to have, tackles blocking out, tackles blocking out. We're going to have the center work up and get the middle linebacker, tackles blocking out. We're going to kick out that defensive end. Tight end is going to kick out the outside linebacker. Fullbacks leading in the hole with Trent Richardson. So everything spreads out. He's going to drop back and hand it off right here. Everything is spread out, so Richardson actually has a two-way go. If he sees this technique gets dominated and getting pushed down inside, he can cut it up here, or he can cut it up here, or if he sees the end crashing in, he has here. So it gives him a wide range of options in the running game where he could just put his foot down and get up the field quickly. That's how you utilize him to his effectiveness, and that's how you can get him going on the ground, and thus creating those play action opportunities and getting Brian Hoyer more involved in the passing game. Now I'm going to show you another lead draw example by utilizing if the defense is in a zone defense instead of man defense like I just drew up. The lead draw versus a zone defense, not a lot changes. The only thing that changes slightly is up front. You're going to have the center and the guard combo blocking to the backer, and you're going to have both wide receivers going up to try to get those safeties blocked, so that way Richardson can have more room to run and have a bigger lane to go and hopefully run the daylight. So versus zone, you're going to have, again, same rules apply. Now you're going to have the center and the guard combo blocking this technique in the hole, with the guard working up to get the backer block, kick out, kick out. Now we're going to have the receivers work up to try to get those safeties. Fullback leads in the hole. Richardson follows him right behind and hopefully running to daylight. So again, the lead draw is very effective versus defensive fronts that are over aggressive, and also it aids a running back in helping him find the right lane and hit it quickly, so that way he doesn't have to read behind the line of scrimmage. And that's what's going on right now in Cleveland. Richardson is doing too much reading and not a lot of reacting. You want to get him back to his Alabama days where it was just simple downhill running, and this is how they can get it done this week versus the Minnesota Vikings.
And for the Niners in this game, they don't have to get cute offensively. They can get off the bus and line up and run the football. So you don't have to find creative ways to get the running game going. And that really opens up your play action pass. So don't get cute offensively. Play standard football and you should be effective. And dog blitzes versus the Colts. If that back doesn't leave the backfield, send extra at Andrew Luck down at A and B gap to keep him bottled up in the pocket. And you want to stay ahead of the chains on offense. Get your offense back in sync after what happened last week versus Seattle, and I think you have a great chance of winning the ball game. And I do believe the Niners will win this ball game defensively. Both teams will be game, but I do believe the 49ers offensive attack will get back on track this week versus Indy. And finally, we have Chicago traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. And for the Chicago Bears in this ball game, you want to set the edge in the running game versus the Steelers, who want to get to the outside with Felix Jones. And on offense, I look at the inside zone versus a 3-4 defense. It's one of the more effective plays to run versus a 50 front because of the natural bubbles and gaps in that defense. And also, you want to influence Troy Polamalu in the passing game. Get him guessing, get him making bad decisions back there in coverage, and that way Jay Cutler can hit big plays deep down the field. And for the Steelers in this ball game, I like their personnel to go up tempo out of the spread formation. There's 3 wide receivers, a tight end. I think they can make that happen, and that way it would allow my second point to come to fruition with Felix Jones on those quick hitters, those gap plays, those traps, those slice type of runs that would allow him to get to the second level quickly. And we know he has the speed to take the distance. And Dick LeBeau versus Jay Cutler will be the battle you want to watch throughout the course of the ball game. What will the Hall of Fame defensive coordinator have drawn up this week to create turnovers and get the ball back for his offense? I do like the Bears in this game. However, I love what they're doing offensively. They can run the football. They're blocking for Jay Cutler. They have matchup advantages on the flanks at receiver as well as at tight end. And defensively, they're still the Bears defense. So I like the Bears to win this ball game Sunday night versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.